What's going on, YouTube? So you don't need me to tell you that crossovers are king when it comes to luxury vehicles, which is why this QX50 was such a big deal for Infiniti when it came out last year. And now for the second model year of this generation, Infiniti is making it even more competitive with new trim levels and a surprising number of upgrades throughout. So with that said, let's go ahead and see what's new and how it stacks up in the segment. So starting off the exterior here, the first thing I want to do is mention the change to the trim structure for 2020. So what previously used to be the sensory and autograph packages, those have been expanded out to trim levels now, and there is the new Edition 30 trim level as well. Now with that being said, looking at the styling here, you've got the signature Infiniti grille. This does carry across all of the trim levels. But if you choose the new Edition 30, this chrome around the outside edge, this will be smoked. Now coming over here to the headlights, what you'll be looking at is full LED headlights as standard equipment. However, if you want these fancy LEDs, which have the cube design as well as adaptive abilities, you're gonna have to choose either the sensory or the autograph packages. And then on all but your base model, that's where you'll get LED fog lights. So down here at your wheels, they have also seen some upgrades for 2020 since we have some new designs on board. So your standard wheel is going to be a 19-inch alloy. Then when you go to the Edition 30, that has some exclusive dark finish 20-inch alloys. You've got the same wheel on the sensory model, but with a light finish. And then when you go for this fully loaded autograph model, that's where you get these really cool dark finished 20-inch alloys, which I really like the design of. Now as far as your mirrors, we also have some new equipment on these. So you have blind spot monitoring that's going to be standard across all of the trim levels for 2020. And then when you go up to the essential trim level, that's where you'll throw in heating.
So walking around to the rear design of this QX50, honestly, one of my favorite things about this vehicle is just the way that it looks, because it has a really sporty design that is still very classy, which some in the segment can't quite pull off. Now, as far as how your features are concerned for the rear design, you are going to have standard full LED taillights. They're a very attractive design. And then as far as some of your individual components, you are going to have this chrome piece on most of the models. If you go for the Edition 30, this is smoke design. And then down here at the bottom, we do also have standard dual exhaust pipes. And once again, if you go for the Edition 30, it is going to actually make this body color to give you that sportier look. However, all of this black plastic moldings here, that's going to be on all of the models. Now another area where Infiniti has made some changes this year is going to be in your safety systems, since you do have more safety systems as standard for 2020. All QX50s are going to have automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, rear auto braking, and lane departure warning. And then if you go for the Pro Pilot Assist package, that's going to be standard in the autograph trim only. That's also going to throw in steering assist with adaptive cruise control and traffic sign recognition. But anyway, guys, that sums up this QX50's sleek and stylish exterior design. So now let's go ahead and hop on the inside, see all the luxury they put in there before we take it out on a spin.
So walking up to the 2020 QX50, you will notice one change right off the bat, and that's that it has the brand new Infiniti key fob, which has, a different shape, a little bit more squared off. Now as far as the smart entry system, that's going to be standard across the board, and the remote start system is going to come on everything except for the base trim. And then to get inside the vehicle itself, all you have to do is just grab behind the handle, since there is a sensor. Alright, and taking a first look inside of this QX50's cabin. I have to say, especially here on this autograph trim level, it really makes a nice first impression. Now just like all luxury brands, Infiniti does offer this in a wide variety of interior color schemes. So with your Pure, Luxe, and Essential trim levels, that's going to start with a leatherette interior with your choice of black or wheat color options. When you go up to the Sensory level, that's where you'll get real leather seating, and it comes in those same colors. Now when you get to the Autograph trim level, that's where things start to really get fancy, since we have semi-aniline leather seating, as well as Alcantara accents and the beautiful open pore maple wood all throughout the cabin. Now if you remember last year, when you chose the Autograph model, you could just get the white interior with the blue accents. But now for 2020, you can get the black interior like you see here, or the wheat interior as well. Now turning over here to the door trim, as you can see, it is beautifully finished. We have leather all across the armrest, as well as this area here and along the top. Since this is the Autograph trim level, we have Alcantara that runs through the middle part, and we also have some more of the open pore maple wood. You do have 2-person memory seating located right there, and all 4 of your windows are one-touch automatic. Now heading down here to your seats, this is the standard 8-way power adjusting seat with 2-way lumbar support. And like I already mentioned, exclusively here on the Autograph is where you have the beautiful semi-aniline leather, which feels very soft and supple, and also has some nice Alcantara accents. So as you can tell, just looking around this cabin, it uses a lot of really nice materials, especially here on the Autograph trim level. Now, one thing I'm really impressed to report is that this leather covered dashboard, this is actually standard on every single trim level. So that's certainly very rare for this class of vehicle. Dropping down to the middle, we have the Alcantara trim on the Autograph, as well as the open pore maple wood. We have full leatherette that goes all through this middle area and drops down along the passenger side. More Alcantara that runs through here, and everything does fit together extremely well. Obviously there are no panel gaps or anything like that. Now to start up the QX50, your push button start is located right here. So after it starts up, you will find the typical Infiniti gauge layout, which is mostly analog, but we do have a 7-inch digital display right there in the middle. Now this does contain all the typical stuff, including all the settings for your different safety systems on board. And then if you choose the Autograph trim level, or if you have the Pro Pilot package, that's where you also get this large head-up display thrown in. Now coming back to the steering wheel itself, of course it is electric power assisted, and we have a nice leather wrapped wheel with the newest Infiniti design. With your adjustments, those are going to be power adjusting on the Sensory as well as the Autograph, and heating is also thrown in when you choose either of those trim levels. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about interior storage, because this is a family crossover after all. So we'll start out underneath our center console here. And I have to say, really impressed. This is an absolutely cavernous console. I would say probably 3 times larger than the Audi Q5, and it does have a really nice felt lining in it. So I'm not surprised that when we stick our Burger King coupons in here, it swallows them up absolutely no problem. Up in front of that, we have this little sliding cover, and that reveals another small storage area, 2 cup holders, as well as a couple more USB ports and a 12-volt outlet. Now coming back to the shifter, Infiniti does save some space by going with an electronic one. So for drive, you're just going to push in on the front here and pull back to the D. You can pull back once more to activate the manual mode, and you actually do have some paddle shifters on board if you want to shift through some manual simulated gear changes. Now for reverse, you're just going to push up and go the opposite direction. And when you do, you will find a 360-degree camera system pop up on the Essential trim level and higher. This is, the typical around view monitor, so you've got both your 360 and your regular view, as well as the moving object detection. And then for park, you're just going to press the little P right there. Right behind the shifter, you'll find both your electronic parking brake and your auto brake hold functions. Now before we get into the infotainment upgrades, I just want to go ahead and talk about all the stuff around it. So what we'll do is start with the audio systems. Now the standard system on this QX50 is going to be 6 speakers, but when you go for the sensory or higher, that's where you'll get the 16 speaker Bose Performance Sound Series system. That's what we have on this one, obviously, so let's go ahead and sample it. I am definitely very impressed by the sound quality of this system. It has some serious power behind it. Plus, I really love those metal speaker grills right there on the door. Now, as far as on the opposite sides of the screen, we have our climate controls. So the standard setup is going to be a dual zone automatic setup, but you can get 3-zone climate if you choose the climate package or if you go for this top end autograph. Now all of your buttons, they are going to be located physically on either this side or this side. However, there are some redundant controls located in here if you want to make adjustments inside of this screen for whatever reason. Now down below that, you will find the controls for your heated seats. These are going to be standard on the essential trim level and higher. And then if you want vented seats, those are going to be standard on this autograph trim. Okay, so now that brings us to probably the biggest interior upgrade for 2020, and that's going to be the next generation of the Infiniti InTouch system. Now visually, it's not going to look a lot different because you're still going to have a 7-inch display right here and an 8-inch display up here. Both of them are touch screens, but you can use this controller knob to use the top screen if you prefer to do that. Now what's different is actually the hardware beneath. The system itself is way more responsive than it was previously. So you'll notice as you click on things, they load up instantly. We also have some nice animations. So it's certainly a lot speedier than it was before, and the resolution has also been increased. Now up top here, you will notice a navigation system. This is going to come on the essential trim level and higher. But the other big upgrade for 2020 is that now we have both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on board. Neither of these were previously available with the old version of the system in the 2019 model. Now moving on up here, we have the auto dimming mirror with the Homelink universal remotes, standard on all but the base model. And then you will also find up here on the roof a panoramic sunroof on all but the base model as well. As you can see, it is really large. It goes all the way back to the rear passenger. And then the front panel here, this opens up quite wide, as well as having a windscreen.
Alrighty, so getting into the QX50's rear seat, of course you're going to notice that on this autograph model, this is a very, very luxurious place to spend time. And as far as your space is concerned, I'm also noticing that there's a lot of space back here for this segment. You're going to find 39 inches of both leg and headroom, which does actually place it above the BMW X3 and Mercedes GLC. And as far as behind rear seating position, it's probably around, I would say, 8 or 9 inches of rear leg room, and my feet can slide up underneath the seat, although it is actually a little bit tight. And then as far as the feature set Infiniti has thrown in, you are going to have standard vents. That's across all of the models. And then on this autograph model, we do also have our own climate control. And then off to the side, we have a charging USB port, as well as a 12-volt household style outlet. However, I am noticing that there are no heated rear seats on this QX50, even in this fully loaded autograph model, which I do think is a little bit of a feature that Infiniti has overlooked. And then up in the center, we do have a fold-down armrest, cup holders inside, with a little storage area up front. Now, I did almost forget to mention that this fully loaded autograph model does also have rear side window sunshades. Now walking up to the QX50's tailgate, you are going to have a power liftgate as standard equipment. However, you have to go for this fully loaded autograph to add the hands-free. So just wave your foot on the bumper to open. And once it does open up, you're going to find a really good amount of space for this segment back here. You're going to find 31 cubic feet of space behind the second row seats. That expands to 65 cubic feet if you fold the seats, and that is above the main competition, once again, like the BMW X3, Mercedes GLC, and Lexus NX. Now, as far as how Infiniti has finished it back here, we have a really nice carpeting along the floor, and if we lift it up, we will find additional storage up underneath. Off to the side, we have a 12-volt power outlet, and then you will also find your levers to fold the seats, and they do fold 60-40 split. Now over here at your passenger seat on this loaded model, we do have the same adjustment as the driver, and then in front, we have a nicely dampened glove box. It's really premiumly felt lined, and then as far as how the coupons are going to fit, that's a really important part, and they do slide right in there, although this isn't a massive amount of space, so if you have a really fat stack, it may not fit. And then up top, we do have a sun visor with a light and mirror, and it does also detach as well as extend.
So that was a quick acceleration up to 60 miles an hour. I have to say, that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Definitely power feels quite good. You know, I was really interested to get behind the wheel of this because if you guys know, this actually has the variable compression turbo engine. And we have not driven this engine in the Ultima or in this before.
So that's actually a first.
Yeah, I really...
It's fast.
Yeah, I like the way the power feels. Definitely comes on nice and strong. Now this is, like I said, the variable compression turbo, so it's a 2-liter VC turbo, 268 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque. So those are very competitive power numbers as far as the class goes.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit above some of the German competition, and I think where you're really kind of going to notice that the most is in the torque. You know, on those accelerations, it really kind of pushed me back in my seat every single time. And a lot of the competition, although punchy, I don't think they're as torque rich as this engine.
Now a lot of you guys are probably curious as to what variable compression actually means. And it's a new technology that Nissan has pioneered. So this in this QX50 as well as the Ultima, that is the first time it's ever been used in any type of automobile. And you know, without getting too sciencey or whatever, basically it does what it says. It varies the compression ratio of the engine. So when you're up at high speeds, you're under high pressure, and then when you're at low speeds, they lower the compression. So you know, that is just to you know, basically prioritize what you're using the engine for. So if you're at that high speed, you're cruising, and they want it to be efficient. You know, while you're at the lower speed, like in the city, and you just, you know, slam on the throttle, you want to go fast. So that gives you basically the best of both worlds. That's what the idea is. Now I also want to talk about the transmission. Now you may not actually have noticed, you know, a lot of times it's pretty obvious. This does have a continuously variable transmission, but it has a really nice shift simulation. I have to compliment them on that. It's not super obvious, especially if you are like the average, you know, maybe luxury crossover buyer. You're not super like a car person. I'm not sure the average customer would really realize right off the bat that this was a continuously variable transmission. You know, it is quite realistic in the way that it simulates gear changes. You can see it in both the RPMs, and it also has like a feel to it. So I'm pleased by that.
And just getting up to speed here, we're going a touch under 60 miles per hour, and you know, this is a pretty common loop for us, and we've been in a lot of different vehicles, and I have to say I'm very impressed with what this QX50 has to offer here. You know, this is a luxury crossover first and foremost, and this is in the autograph trim, so you do expect it to have a really luxurious ride, and I have to say it really does. As far as like hitting a bump or anything, you're not going to feel anything, and then I will get a sound level reading real fast, hopefully, before we slow down here. Yeah, so before we were slowing down, we were getting a reading of around 56 decibels, which is very good for any vehicle going almost 60 miles per hour.
I just kind of went around a corner back there, you know, and it confirms what my suspicions were. You know, this is more focused on luxury than being like a sports vehicle. I think that's the right path because, you know, there's already a lot of sportier crossovers in the German lane, you know, and this is, of course, you know, going for the alternative to that. So you're definitely on the more comfort-oriented side, but I think it does have a nice, still kind of athletic feel to it. Like it really feels pretty solid when you go around the corners. You don't have a lot of body roll or anything like that, you know, but it's not like super sporty in the way that it handles or anything like that.
Now, with all of our most recent videos, we've been identifying the airball and slam dunk, and this vehicle is going to be no different, so we need to talk about this real fast. Now, as far as our slam dunk for this QX50, we really both talked about this and came to the conclusion that we really like the style and just kind of that,
inside and out.
Yeah, both inside and out, because the outside, we honestly think this is probably one of the most stylish offerings, if not the most stylish offering
the way it looks, personally,
in the class. And then get on this inside, and especially in this autograph trim, you have, you know, the Alcantara. If we went for the blue interior, we've seen pictures of that, and that's really, really upscale feeling. So that's really something that the competition can be lacking sometimes. You know, the Q5 and X3 are kind of a little bit boring. So this is going to inject that style that you may be looking for. Now, as far as the airball, that's just going to be the loudness of this engine. You know, once again, compared to the competition like the X3 and GLC, this 2-liter engine is quite a bit louder, so you are going to notice a little bit more unrefinement compared 2-liter to 2-liter. And, you know, he was mentioning the fuel economy, so that is your benefit of the VC turbo, and along with that, your 2-liter front-wheel drive model, that's going to come in at 23 city, 29 highway, 26 combined. And if you go for all-wheel drive, that's going to drop it down 1 mpg over that. So that's definitely puts it at the top end of the segment. It is not the best in the segment because the BMW X3 actually has a little bit better fuel economy, but honestly, that's at the top end of the segment, and this is more powerful than those, you know, German models, so you are getting a very good benefit there.
So overall, I've been quite impressed by driving this QX50. Like I said, this is the first time behind the wheel, and the first time with the variable compression turbo, so I was really interested to see how this was all gonna work together, you know, because it's a complicated powertrain setup. But behind the wheel, I'm happy to say you don't really feel that complication. You know, all these things work together seamlessly, especially the variable compression. You know, you don't have to like wait for power to kick in. You know, the CVT is very responsive, and you know, I think for the average person, when you get behind the wheel, you're going to enjoy the benefits of how high-tech the powertrain is, but you're not going to really know that it is high-tech.
Alrighty, so now let's go ahead and discuss the pricing for this QX50 model. Now, the below prices are going to be for the front-wheel drive. All-wheel drive is going to be an additional charge. So for the Pure, it's going to start at $37,250. The Lux is $40,250. Essential $44,100. Sensory $48,900. And then finally, you have this Autograph model for $53,850.
Now this model has opted for all-wheel drive, and we do also have a few options. The tow package for $650, welcome lighting for $425, eliminated kick plates $485, cargo package $285, splash guards $225, and a rear bumper protector for $275. And then the destination charge is $1,025, which brings this particular model as equipped to a pretty steep $59,220. You know, it is almost $60,000, which is definitely a lot for this segment. That does put it roughly in line with the German rivals like the Mercedes GLC and Audi Q5, but it definitely is going to be on that top end of the segment, especially when you compare it to something like the Acura RDX. But the lower trims are quite a bit more affordable.
Well guys, we've enjoyed watching this in-depth look of the 2020 Infiniti QX50 Autograph. We really appreciate you watching, and if you've made it this far in the video, don't lie, I know you like this video at least a little bit, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.